if you've seen the title of this topic and you've clicked on this stream, you probably know the direction that we're going, and it probably means that you out there can relate. Yes, the relationship between us and our action figures is mostly a positive one. Maybe I shouldn't speak for everybody, but that's the impression that I get, and it's the relationship with my toys that I try to have. Now, there's a tricky balance between falling down all the different rabbit holes, which is something that we've discussed on past topics before on previous TKO live streams, and all the pitfalls that can occur when you're collecting toys. So this is a Toy Connections online live stream, or TKO. Welcome to this Saturday session, and we are going to sit here and discuss the love-hate relationship. Where do I even begin? Because before I set this topic up, I wasn't 100% sure whether we were going to start with the hate, and I'm using air quotes here on the words hate, or love first, but we'll see how I feel in a few minutes. Now, a few friends have agreed to join us for this particular stream, so we're going to welcome them on camera one by one. He just put up a video earlier today, bringing us all the G.I. Joe classified reviews, a little bit of news as well. And, well, you know what? I'll let him introduce himself. Welcome back to TKO. Dreadnought Ryan from the Island of Misfit Toy Collectors.
What's going on, Ken? How are you doing today?
Doing all right, man. I haven't seen your latest video yet. It dropped while I was out at well, I saw it when I was out on a play date with my kid and his friend, and I'm like, oh, Dreadnought Ryan dropped something. I kind of want to go take a look at this because, yeah.
Well, I dropped a couple different things, but the first, though, was in my bathroom. The second was the video I made today. But
okay.
The first you want to see. The second one you may like, though. So
I don't know if you recorded the first one, though, but
I always record those. That's most important. You never know what happens if you need to send that picture to your friends or family for an accomplishment you never thought was possible. I'm kidding, of course.
Or if you need an alibi.
Yeah.
Just on the off chance that your what do you call it? Somebody accused you of a crime and say, actually, at this date and this time, with the timestamp, I was doing this. Here's the video proof, and I go, okay. Well, we never want to see you again. We'll never call you again. Yeah.
The only thing I was doing was blowing up the bathroom. So.
Well, on that note, what a great start to the stream. Let's bring on another guest, and hopefully he's got something else to say. But he recently started his own YouTube channel. We're just getting to know him and his collection a little bit more closely. He loves everything toys. He loves everything video game related. It's after midnight where he is. But TJC, welcome back, my friend.
Morning, people. How are we?
Oh, hello.
Oh,
hello.
Turn the lights on.
Yeah, and you've got a new camera as well, a new setup there and everything, right? Still hear a little bit of that buzzing sound in the background, but the chat can tell us if it's distracting or not. I don't find it too bad, but that's because I'm the one talking right now. So I think we're okay, but you doing okay, my friend?
All good. Yeah, all good.
Awesome.
Probably my brain at this time in the morning. That's probably what it is.
Yeah, just getting your, you know, you got some coffee to keep you awake because we might be here for a little bit.
I might need some, yeah.
Awesome. Right. Okay, good. So apparently I'm just dreaming and just being overly meticulous as usual, so we're good. All right. And also joining us on this particular stream is our all-star moderator, somebody who's been here a number of times. Always appreciate his insights on anything, but particularly his insights on, well, his Kelvin and Hobbes comics that he drops on Facebook, as well as his insights on the cult hit classic Megaforce, even if that's not tonight's topic, unless he chooses to introduce it as part of tonight. I'll shut up now. Gazz, get on screen, buddy.
I'd love toys better if there were Megaforce toys.
Okay. There is this thing called
combination.
There is this thing called customs, which I know you're well aware of. But
yeah, but there should be actual Megaforce toys. That's what I'm saying. I mean, my wallet's empty. I'm angry, but I still love my toys.
Awesome. Well, you know what? Why don't we open this this conversation up with a super chat? Chad, thank you very much. I know you've got this really wonderful Road to Joe Fest series that you're doing, and I believe you're getting our buddy Adam, if I saw my notifications correctly, tomorrow night. So you can check that out. And he just says popping in to show you some love, Ken. I know you're probably out and about at the moment, but I do appreciate you stopping in at least to do this. And on that note, I guess I may as well say hello to whoever is in the chat. Let's scroll all the way to the top. Let's see who made it. Payne's Toy Samples telling us that he is first. Ozstradamus Toyz, who would have been first, but apparently he was out meeting somebody famous today, which he will tell you all about. I won't burst his bubble. Johnny Sorensen saying that it's all about the game and how you play it because he happens to be a fan of Triple H in wrestling, which is okay. We forgive him for that. The game. You know, we're going to get some Motorhead going here, right? Gazz can rock the Motorhead for us, and TJC can guitar solo in the background for him, right? All right. Largo's Lair, always with his he's got multiple good series on his channel. I don't even know what to plug anymore. Just go check him out. Matthew Comstock, my good friend. Anthony Roma, our other good friend. We've got here scrolling. Jeff Morris has joined us in the chat. Hope I haven't missed anybody. Casey Wheeler from Podcast from the Pit, hoping to meet you over at Joe Fest. We've got Gazz pulling double duty. We got AI Collectibles, who likes this topic. Skyfall, one of the loyal patrons of the channel. Impossible Pie, who doesn't really hate toys, but definitely loves toys. Another loyal patron of the channel. Heracles, Dragon Ball Z. We've got Nolan. Busy topic today. Bernie Lomax. Will Agnes. Saying great topic. What's up, Ken? Who else have I got in the chat here? Articulated Chad already said hi to you, and the chat's jumped on me. Island of Misfit Toy Collectors also pulling double duty. Yeah, why so many toy rooms are in the bedroom? Don't you have a man cave? I guess it depends on which collector, on each various collector, I suppose. Black Phoenix 77, always see you in the live chats. And yeah, Gaz pulling moderator duties even when he's a star on the show itself. So, gentlemen, you feel my pain and you feel my passion when it comes to this topic. Love, hate. We're going to go around the table and talk about what you're feeling today, but maybe we'll just get the difficult portion of the conversation out of the way. I'm assuming that the pendulum swings back and forth with how much we love our toys. We overspend on our pre-orders. We don't get them for a while. We feel bogged down by the hobby. We get a bunch of stuff. We open it up. We display it. We love our hobby. I don't want to speak out of turn for anybody, but Ryan, when do you fall into the hate side? When do you use your hate?
You know, I collect one line, and I'll collect other pieces here and there. Don't hate my toys. I know for my personality that I need to keep it focused, because if you aren't focused, especially for me, I go down way too many rabbit holes, and then it's stressful. So I don't hate where I'm at right now. I'm good. I think it's the hate comes when I see negativity in the toy community, and we don't really talk about what those true issues are, what people are feeling. And I think from what I'm getting from you, Ken, is it's overwhelming sometimes, just the amount of stuff that we're being bombarded with, whether it's a Kickstarter, it's a new line, it's retro this, retro that. You only have so many dollars you can spend before you're tapped out, and there's still stuff you want. So that's where I'm at. I mean, I know where my limitations are, and I just try to stay in my lane the best I can.
All right. Sounds good. So, I want to piggyback so much off that statement, but we're gonna go diagonal. Oh, StreamYard. After 100 streams, I still don't know which way is diagonal the right way. All right. Towards TJC, not the overweight Snoopy. TJC. Let's channel your hate right now. When does the pendulum swing to the this hobby, or does it never happen for you because you're such a cool guy?
Well, don't know about that. I think that's just touching on what Ryan said. Really, it's just you get so far to a point, and you think, am I done now? And then something will come out like you say, the Kickstarter with Bob Regan's book, the adverts, obviously to save them for the community, that sort of stuff. Something comes up that you have to then think, well, I should reinvest in that. Just never ending.
Bob Regan's a sweet man.
Definitely.
So much.
Really good guy, yeah.
finally got to talk to him briefly yesterday, and yeah, he's just a great individual. I went ahead and backed that book. I just want to learn more about toy history, and with Palatoy being overseas, I didn't get exposure to that. But every time I learn something, I want to turn the page and learn more, and this book is a great opportunity for it. So yeah, a lot of thoughts in the chat right now. A lot of people seem to be able to relate to us. Gazz, what's the current temperature over on your end as far as the toy collecting space is concerned?
I think I'm kind of like out of the mood right now for actually actively collecting stuff. Like, I mean, I find myself sometimes getting something because not because I want it, because it's cool, or because I'm like, should I collect this? Because, you know, this seems to be like the hot thing, and I don't want to do that. I never did, and I feel like that's where I'm going. Like, I'm buying some things that I normally wouldn't buy. I'm not going like overboard or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I mean, you know, at heart, I'm always going to be, but I don't like to be called a toy collector because I don't feel that I am. You know, like, I'm like Ryan, I collect usually just one thing, like G.I. Joe. And just recently I've been branching out on stuff that I normally wouldn't buy. So for me, I think it's a love-hate relationship. And right now, for me, it's not hate, but it's a little frustration, I guess I would call it, with myself in buying stuff.
Okay, no sense. You know what? No, it totally makes sense, right? It's just like I said, it's the current feeling that you're going through right now, and the way you know, like, I consider you a toy collector for what that's for what that's worth.
I'm not saying collector is a bad name. I don't think of myself as a toy collector. I'm not looking at things like it's like, oh, I gotta get, no offense to anybody who does this. All right, no offense. I'm not trying to like say anything bad about that, but I don't need to buy 2 to have 1 in package. I don't need, like, I'm not gonna leave stuff on card because it's gonna be more valuable down the road. You know, all the stuff I'm buying is opening. If I get 4 Vipers, it's because I love Vipers, right? But it's more or less like, I think at this point in time right now, I'm feeling, even though, you know, with Joe Fest coming up and stuff, I don't have like a thing that I'm going to be looking for at Joe Fest. And I hear people talking about it like, I'm looking for this, or I wanted this, like Adam's idea about getting the Sky Striker and having everybody signing it, or getting 2 and have, you know, building one up and whatever. And I think it's a great goal. I don't have like that idea. Like, I'm not looking for anything specific. I just, like, for me, this little trip is going to be to see you guys, you know, and have some good times. And if I find some cool stuff, I find some cool stuff. If not, it's no big deal, right? So I think at this point in time right now, I'm kind of like stepping back and just reevaluating what it is that I want to do with what I have, apparently.
And you have to reevaluate your collection often, because I'll be honest, I used to get 4 of each troop builders. Now I'm just down to 2 because I don't need 4.
Right.
And if you're not reevaluating what you're collecting, that leads you down that rabbit hole. I start to think this love-hate is not so much that you love or hate what you do. It's you love or hate yourself. You're mad at yourself for wasting money or buying something that you don't need. It's that, you know, shame that you feel as, you know, a toy collector.
It's like at the moment you buy it and you're like, yeah, this is good. And then you get it and you're like, why the heck did I buy this? It's for no reason. I bought this for no reason. It's like, I don't need another DB5 James Bond car. I have enough. Why do I buy another one? Because it's cool, right?
It's
my nephew came over like the other weekend, and he was playing with my Playmobil Ecto 1, right? And I got this to be like, oh, this is going to be cool. Like, you know, it's a nice piece. And I was just like, you know what? Take it. Go ahead. Cheers. And he threw it in his backpack and he went home. He's only 3 years old and he wanted to play with it and he loved it. And like, that's what, I don't know. Like, that I was thinking myself, why did I buy that in the first place? If all I was going to do is sit there and collect dust, I wasn't playing with it enough.
Sometimes, you know, just giving it to somebody else actually makes you feel a little bit better. Like those of you know that I set up a booth at the toy show with all the extras that I pick up when I'm trying to like buy pieces, and it's just cheaper per capita to buy the whole collection rather than buying one piece. And then I used to sell everything, and then I got to a point, you know, some of you and some of the people in the chat have actually influenced me a little bit, because I see people giving stuff to each other, and here I put price tags and everything. Like they'd be like, "Hey Ken, what do you need for that?" "Oh, it's $20." And I realized, you know what, this person would send it to me for free, so I've changed my mind. I'm gonna send things for free. Like I got stuff for Joe Fest for a few of my friends. I'm just gonna hand them out and be like, it makes me feel better to actually hand them out. More so than get money for them, right? Like, yeah, if I'm standing at a toy show and I got to pay for my booth and I got to pay for my travel fees, like at the local toy shows here, I'm not talking about Joe Fest, then yeah, I probably got to make my dollar back, right? But it comes a little bit differently when you're doing that. So you with the story with your nephew is a great example.
Yeah,
right.
The look on his face was just, he was the happiest little kid, because it makes that great siren noise, and that's all he cared about.
Yeah. Absolutely.
He was trying to walk off with my Johnny Lightning one too. This big die-cast one. I'm like, no, you can't take that one.
Or the old expression, maybe when you're older, you just hope they forget it. Just do it passive aggressively there. But yeah. How old's your nephew now?
He's 3.
Ooh, a lot of years left.
Just a little dude.
The little dude, yeah. A lot of years left. Now, I will say that what do you call it? For me, it just comes down to my own self-control is the hate side of it, because I tell myself, okay, I'm going to be good about this. I'm not going to overspend. And then, as you know, my buddy Jeff goes and upgrades a bunch of his Transformers. And what happened was, I don't know how many people know the story, right? But like, maybe I've told it here, maybe I haven't. But during the pandemic, he got a lot of rare Japanese Transformers because that's where he's collecting. But he's so meticulous about having all the paperwork, the original foam, so it can't be a reproduction foam inside an original box. He needs to have the catalog. He needs to have the tech specs decoder in his Transformer stuff. He needs to have a mint box. But he also accumulated a bunch of like stuff over the years that's like mediocre condition. Like maybe this is not a good example because it's not one of the rare Japanese ones, but this Galvatron is a reject from his collection. So he goes and puts everything for sale, right? But he's local to me, so I don't have to pay shipping. And then he goes and says, Ken, we're best friends. I just need my cost back on this, right? So I go and I spend, then I go and I spend, then I go and I spend. And I start feeling really bad about how much I'm spending. And then I say, okay, I'm going to cut back to just a few items that I need that I know I can't pass up because they never come up. And one of the things that came up the other day is I was talking to somebody about the Red Shadows. Now you got to bear in mind, this is the same day I talked to Bob Breakin for the first time, and I was talking to Brian Hickey about his book, and I'm talking to another local friend, Sean, and he goes and says, "So what would make you cave right now?" I'm like, Sean, if it's not a Red Jackal or a Red Shadows escape armor, we're not going to talk. So what does he do? He sends me a picture of the Red Shadows escape armor, and it's not cheap. Now, he's about 2 hours away, so he's like, it's cheap shipping, or you can use the gas to come pick it up. I'm like, just ship it. I'll e-transfer you, and I'll just vent about it on tomorrow's stream. And here we are now, and that's out of the way.
Ken, that's you not being like you go down a lot of rabbit holes, bro.
I know.
You do.
I know.
You can't have a lot of garden left.
Yeah, and it just comes down to just, the love for the different toy lines and being like, oh, this is kind of like something I had before, but it's like, it's cooler, and I would have liked it if I saw it on the shelves. Yeah, so it is the rabbit holes and the inability to self-control for long periods of time, to say the least.
Self-control. You need self-control.
Ken, I can't tell you when I was collecting the Modern Joe figures, and I went and started cleaning some of them out, and I had like 4 of the same figures that I had bought at different times because I forgot that I bought them, and I thought, oh, I don't have it, or it's like, oh, I like this, and I just felt out of control and overwhelmed, and it took all the fun out of everything. It was like anxiety going and opening up eBay or going to a local toy store, and I found that it was almost like work, and it takes all the fun out of it. And I'm like, I need to take a step back.
I mean, like, even like the recent, isn't it like Torpedo for Classified? They all got released in Europe, right? Right. Some of them got released in Europe, right? And like, yeah, I'm not angry. I'm a patient person, right? I don't get angry over that. I'm a patient. Whenever it comes, it comes. But then I see like the messages, oh, they're already over there. What the hell? You know, that kind of stuff. When these people are getting frustrated over it, it's like, why? You don't need to do that. And then that's what also gets me thinking is like, do I really want to do this? It's not that I don't. I mean, this community is, it's priceless. And I wouldn't give up the friendships that I've found in this community for anything in the world. But I don't need to like frustrate myself over getting something that or that I want to collect because, the prices are too high or whatever. I think when it comes around, and that's where it should be.
Well, speaking of work, right? Like I do have days where it feels that way, right? Like I see Travis in the chat right now. Like I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Travis, but I think he asked me a while ago, did I buy the Ultimate Edition Bret Hart in the pink jacket? In fact, I think I was on his show with him when he asked me that. I said, no, I missed out on it. And then all of a sudden I got a shipping notice from Target to my US mailbox saying, we've shipped and charged your card for the Ultimate Edition Bret the Hitman Hart, the pink jacket. Oh, right. And then I said to myself for 3 days straight, I said to myself, tag Travis on Instagram when you take a photo of that Bret Hart. And every single time something other toy related thing came up and then I forgot. Like yesterday I was about to tag him. And then because I released my video last night of the Motu Vicron figure, because my Patreon folks had seen that video and said, oh, when's it going to drop like publicly? I said it's going to drop on Sunday. Then all of a sudden people started messaging me saying, hey, Ken, that video is about the rumor and the inclusion of Vicron in the Masterverse line and the history of him. They just announced it officially an hour ago. You may want to premiere that video. So I quickly went and set the premiere for last night instead. And then because of that, like I was on the way to like tag Travis on Instagram and I completely forgot about it because suddenly it turned into work. You know what I mean? Because it was something that wasn't, I guess when it feels like work, it's something that's not on your own terms. Right. And that's one thing that wasn't on my own terms, but I don't regret doing it. But if that didn't come up, I would have had some fun with Travis and been like, didn't I tell you I didn't pre-order this? Does it make me a liar or does it just make me forget? Anyway, so yeah. So anyway, that's where it's at. Sorry, I'm just having a little bit of a feud in the chat with Jeremy Kimberlin and the whole Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels thing. Ever since I've discovered this guy, he's become my BFF as far as wrestling rivalries has concerned. Dino Dudes on BBTS. Are you talking about the new Kickstarter or something a little bit different? That's not the Armies of Ashmore, is it? If it is, Oz can probably tell you about that. So
Dino Dudes. I need to know what Dino Dudes are now.
Yeah, apparently I'm a liar. So anyway, at least I tried.
Oh, for fart's sake, Moody, shut up.
Moody said he was
that we had before.
Moody said he was denied to come onto the show. And I said that it was because I actually was I sent it only to the Streamathon folks. And then I thought, if I put Moody and Dreadnought on camera and I have to ref this, I'm not sure I'm up for it right now. You're going to need like a Mike Tyson special guest ref.
And I think me and him, we're going on after this on a late night in a toy kind of mood. So yeah, we need to save some of that energy for later.
Yeah, that's right.
Don't get all pooped out.
That's right. Well, I mean, we've quickly glossed over here the sort of. Well, I'm not saying. Yeah, go ahead.
I want to say one thing. I'm happy for the folks in England and Europe for getting the stuff early, because they've always got everything after everybody else has, and if they can get it there first, that's awesome. I bet TJC can tell us, like, either you're overpaying for shipping or you're getting zapped with some, extra cost for everything. And if Hasbro and Mattel can get stuff to those folks now and they're not overcharging them for it, it's good for collectors as a whole. Ours are it's sitting on a boat coming from China, which takes a month or so for that to happen, and then it's getting distributed out to whoever you purchased it from. So it's just the way that it is.
Yeah.
Well, when I was a kid, we missed out on a lot of lines for that same reason. They never used to come to Europe. They used to get like select few, and that was it. You never used to get the others. They used to be states or only, so you never got them. So it is nice that changes a little bit.
That's true.
Yes, especially when you're looking at either Marvel Legends, Star Wars, G.I. Joe, any of these, action figure lines that you guys can actually get your hands on now, without paying the tax for shipping, when it costs them $30 extra just to ship something to you. That's ridiculous.
Oh, 100%. Right. But I mean, sometimes when something lands at your door and you're not ready for it, just sits there sometimes and you forget it. Right. Then you go on this big, like massive opening binge fest because your pre-orders got piled up and sat in your garage or sat in boxes by your desk or something. And you just forget that it's there. Right. And you were so excited at the time of the pre-order. And by the time you get the box in the mail, it's sort of like, oh, yeah, that thing.
Oh, it's even worse it's like even worse when you forget about what you ordered and it shows up. And yeah, you're super excited, but then you're like, shit, when did this come out? When did I pay for it? Oh, damn it.
And that's the thing, right? Like, I love my Mythic Legions figures. It's what I have noticed, though, is that the waves when you pre-order them, it's before they've started the manufacturing. So a lot of times there's this massive wait. So I ordered something in the early part of 2022. It's a really, really nice looking set. It's the War of the Ether Blade, Attilia, and Gorgo set. Gorgo set. Some people in the chat might know what I'm talking about. And I got the shipping notice like yesterday. I'm like, oh my God. Now, because it's such a cool looking set, I'm getting excited again, but it doesn't feel like it feels like it's a reignition of the excitement, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. So as opposed to like the initial excitement, because when the excitement started, I was like, oh, I was in a different state of mind, even with this YouTube channel. I'm like, oh, I'm going to do like, the different videos on the different factions of Mythic Legions. And I can't wait till this comes. Oh, 2023. Oh, spring 2023. Oh, okay. Let me go make some Transformers videos in the meantime. Right. And then suddenly it comes up and I'm like, oh, which faction are these characters again? And why are they important? I know they look cool, but it's that mental cycle and the mental hurdles that we go through. And it's fun, right? Like I know Zazel put it in the chat earlier. It's basically an intervention, but it's like a group intervention. Right.
Yeah.
And you folks like Gazz and Ryan, especially, they've done many interventions for me. How many times have I taken a selfie with a glass of beer and said, this is the Ken overspent again today therapy, liquid therapy session. So
Ken doesn't dip his dough in a rabbit hole. He just cannonballs right in.
That's basically it. Right. Yeah.
See, and that's where I think my challenge is to you, Ken, is I get your love of toy history, and that's your passion, and that's, I believe, what drives you most is you want to celebrate all this amazing stuff, the amazing artistry that these creators are doing, and all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But focus on what you really care about, and it's more enjoyable, and you don't stress yourself out over it either.
Faded or jaded, Tony. Anyway, that's what it is, and I try to respond to you by saying that, look, I do focus. I'm just focused on, and then I try to count on 10 fingers what I'm focused on, right? And then I got to count on 10 toes what I'm focused on. And then I got to pull down my pants to count to 21. And then I still don't have enough digits to count the number of things that I'm focused on. Right. Yeah.
And when you talk Mythic Legions, that in itself, that's just like a whole nother rabbit hole dimension that you would fall into. And then you add on top of it, Masters of the Universe. And then you add on top of it WWE or AEW figures. And then you add on, this line. And, now I want to collect the O-rings, from Delta 17. And it's just like you get so much. And For me, I don't want my toys stored in containers. If it gets to that point, I need to get rid of them.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's how most of my old Joes lived. We're in containers, boxes, baggies, and I didn't enjoy them. So, like, I have to say no to Mythic Legions 1,000 times. Mezco, some of those figures they make are absolutely gorgeous. I have to say no.
Amen.
You know, it's like, no, I can't afford that.
And
rabbit
it's
hole.
yeah, and I tell myself, no, I can't afford that rabbit hole, and then it's like reaching into a bag of chips. I bet you can't have just one, right? Bernie, to answer your question, if everything was on fire and I had to grab something, Ralph, plug your ears, but I'm gonna save your cousin Snoopy right over here. If the family was safe. Yeah. Okay, Ralph's asleep, so it's all good. No, I would probably grab my Diaclone Battle Convoy, which I'm gonna put a video about Wednesday or so this coming week. So anyway,
if I could only grab
look at Hazel's comment, do you really believe that's true? He wouldn't even save one Sarge.
can you at least grab the Fun School Super Cop for me? Oh man.
Well, I got two hands, so I'm grabbing my Calvin and Hobbes book collection and my signed Barry Boswick poster, Megaforce. That's all.
There we go.
I got two hands. I don't care if I get burned.
There we go.
I'm grabbing the hose and I'm going to spray down my room so I don't have to worry about it.
I'm fighting a fire at my door.
I'm fighting the fire, baby. I'm not giving up.
I'm staying.
What about you, TJC?
Just put sandbags up where you find your collection and sit in the middle of it. You'll be all right.
Wet everything down.
TJC sits there silently, but when he speaks up, he's got a good zinger. You know, we need like a highlight reel of the TJC zingers. You know, sits there unassuming, waits for his moment, and then makes the quote of the show. You'll be all right. Sandbags.
Sandbags, be fine. It's all right. It's all good. As long as I keep an internet connection, I'll be good.
All right. So, look, we've talked about the, I don't want to say negative side, but we've talked about when the pendulum swings to the, oh, not this again, part of toys. What's keeping you in the game? Like, where does the love aspect come in after all the years of collecting? Dreadnought, we'll throw it back to, to you.
It's you. It's Gazz. It's Tony. It's Travis and Zazel. It's my friends. And it's the creators, the folks who actually make these toys. They're pieces of art, and I appreciate them. Playing with toys, whether you're doing figure photography or just playing with them or building dios, you're being creative, and that's what's magic about toys. It makes you use your brain to think up new scenarios, new play, structure, whatever you want to do. But you're being creative, and it's fun, and it makes you feel good. So, that's what is great about this community is it's just bringing back the magic of my childhood.
That's fair. 100% fair. TJC, what about you, buddy?
Like you say, it's just the community, isn't it? It's just come in talking about, you got the nostalgia part as well. But mainly it's just the people you're in it with, talking with, chatting with, playing games with, whichever.
And TJC, you have a younger son too, so yeah. My son will turn 17 this year, but for a number of years, toys is basically was how we, stayed connected. We could share wrestling or Matchbox or different things like that where, I would play with them, and I saw what it was like to be a kid and playing with toys, and those are memories that I'll take with me forever.
Oh yeah, you don't forget that. I mean, to be honest, as with all kids now, all my boy wants to share at the minute is an iPad, but I just try and steer him where I can away from it. Just say like, just get this out, get the Lego out, or anything really.
Yeah, fair enough.
Like you say, that sense of play is what they need to experience, not just looking at a screen.
Yeah. So I did have a dream about video gaming last night in Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. So what did I do? When my son was watching TV this morning, I grabbed the remote and said, I got to show you something. And I put like a quick playthrough of Mike Tyson's Punch Out. You know, one of those speed playthroughs where a person just rolls over all the opponents. And he just had a blast just watching the funny movements, because you know how each character in Mike Tyson's Punch Out has different antics, right? Like Glass Joe is, you know, Glass Jaw, right? Don Flamenco does his dancing thing. King Hippo has to pull his pants back up all the time. And he just had a blast watching this. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, I was you back in, you know, the late 80s watching this. And if you only you knew, and it was nice sharing it with him, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah. What about you, Gazz? When do you fall into the I love toys side of things?
I will echo what both Ryan and TJ has said about the community and the friendships I've made here. I wouldn't trade them in for anything else. But aside of that, the best part of it is when you get your hands on something that you have a strong connection to. It doesn't matter whether it's a vintage toy or if it's new. When you get that, and then you get this like flood of emotions, and I kind of sounds cheesy or whatnot, but you just start remembering, and it just puts a smile on your face, puts you in a good mood. Like I'll for instance, for me, it was when I purchased this if anybody's familiar with super robots from the 70s, Guy King and the super space robot dragon. You know, I purchased this, and I've regrets about it, but still when I look at it and I just think about when I'm a kid and I'm watching it with my buddies, and then we're going outside and we don't have any toys of this, so we're playing as we're the robots and running around it. It's that kind of thing that you look forward to. But those are becoming more rare now as you know, not finding a lot of things that I remember that I'm into. Like I was really just into that and G.I. Joes and little cars and stuff. But you know, like people talk Motu. Motu's great, but I don't have a real big connection to it. Like Silverhawks or Thundercats, again, not into it as much. So I don't have a massive. The things I was into, you know, the toys weren't really around for. You know, like you get the A-Team, you got the small little selection of A-Team stuff. But those are the kind of things that I think are the happy moments in. They're not far in between, but they're not as there as, like, you know, when you get frustration. But that's the happy parts. To me, all you guys here, everybody in the chat, you know, all those people. That's one of the best parts of this. And then those little moments that you find when you find something, like you find a Joe that you haven't seen in a long time, and you're like, oh wow, look at this, or a Mega Force car. I think Chad knows what I'm talking about with that, you know. But that kind of stuff, really.
November of 2009, Dylan was probably just turned 3. And we were in the aisle at Kmart, and I saw G.I. Joe modern scale carded figures, and it was the throwback cards. And in that instant, I was taken back to being a 7-year-old kid with my mom in Kmart trying to pick out a Joe. And it was, again, I use this term, it was magical that you time travel that quick.
It was, you ask your mom if you get one, but you want them all. Hey, she's like, you only get one, and you stand there for like 20 minutes trying to figure out which one, as she's saying, let's go, we gotta go, and you're like, I don't know which one to take. Brain overload.
I can just imagine Ryan's boy at 3 saying, Dad, come on, get out of the shop.
It was the opposite, right? Yeah, the kids telling them to leave.
It's throwing kids out of the way, like, it's Joe, and I have enough money that I can buy them all.
That's happening now when we go to shops up here. My son's like, Dad, can we go now? Because his tablet's in the car. And I'm like, sorry, I got to pick something. You know what I mean? I got to pick, you know, I see classified, and I'm like, do I cave on Tiger Force now? Because I kind of feel like this is the one thing I can say that I haven't caved on is the Joe sub-teams yet. You know what I mean? Which we all know when Marauder's Sarge eventually drops, that's it. You know, Ken's into sub-teams, and then it's game over on that front. That's just a ticking time bomb at this point in time. But, yeah, to echo everything that you all have said is that the friends we make, the sort of joint fandoms of all the properties and then coming together and banding as a community has been something that's helped keep me grounded in the game, right? Like I've said it a few times before, when I started on the YouTube platform, I expected it to be a solo venture, right? I thought if you want to interact, that's what Facebook, Instagram, that's what that's for. Then I discovered, like you can collaborate, you can interact more in the comments, you can live stream together, you can record together, right? Then I started showing up on Welcome to the Slaughterhouse, right? And then in here, and then on Ryan's channel, right? And eventually on Payne's channel, because we'll do something together, right? Or on Oz's channel, he's in the chat as well, right? And then as I learn about toys, what I wanted to do was, like, one of my phrases is, when I learn, you learn, right? And I like that aspect of it, where I can, learn something about the history of a character. Maybe I already knew 80% of it, but that extra 20% that I go out and research, right? Or maybe I don't even know 80%. Maybe I only know 50% of it. Then I go and research the rest, and then I go and curate it into some presentable video fashion that's digestible to people who may not be as familiar with the character or the history of that line. Then I turn around and, like, present it and be like, this is here for all time. This is a reference for all of you, right? So even if I'm not, if I stop doing this, that's there for future generations to reference. And to me, that's trying to add something, leave something behind for the community as well on top of all that. But at the end of the day, if there wasn't all you people out there, I wouldn't be doing that, right? I would just be sitting at home with my plastic, looking at it and going, oh, Stay Puft's pretty cool, and that Jazz figure is pretty cool, and I got a Robo Skull coming from Skeletron soon. That's pretty cool. And that Snoopy's overweight, because I always make fun of him for being overweight. Poor dog.
Quit picking on the fat people, Ken.
Yeah,
I've got feelings, Ken. You called me Snoopy earlier. Enough's enough, all right?
Yeah, but he ate my lunch earlier, so I had to, I was left with nothing but fruits and vegetables, right? He ate my burger, isn't that right? Oh, that's right. You don't have a mouth, you can't talk. So, all right. So, yeah, and thanks again for all the all-star moderation there, Gazz. That's kind of where I'm at as far as why I keep going, right? Like, if it wasn't for the friends, like, if it wasn't for the friends, it'd be much harder to do this. Let's put it that way, right? Because when I started toy collecting in my early 20s, it wasn't exactly the type of hobby you go and talk to people about. I was in university at the time, and it was like, who could I just go talk to about this kind of thing?
No,
right?
You had to kayfabe.
Right.
You had you're a toy collector.
You had the kayfabe, and then that's a great example, right? I had a hard time just bringing it up around friends. It's like, so what do you do with your spare time? What do you spend your money on? And I'm like, what do I talk about? Right? How do I even begin to mention it? So, yeah. So, anyway, go ahead.
Funny story. So we got COVID. I think my kid brought it home from school, and so I had to do a video conference with my doctor, and I'm doing it from my room because I have the webcam set up and all that stuff, and I'm like, I don't feel good. I'm not gonna blur out the background so you can't see my toys, and I'm like, I just don't care. I don't feel good. Give me my medication that I need so I can beat this. And so, he pops on and he's like, are those action figures behind you? And I'm like, yeah, they're my toys. I collect toys. And he's like, what do you have? And you like G.I. Joe? Are those Dios? And I'm like, yeah. And I spent the first 15 minutes of this, virtual appointment showing him my collection. And he's like, that's just so cool. I just wish I could do that. But I'm like, you can. It doesn't matter what other people think about your stuff anymore. So,
because my collection's downstairs now and it's no longer behind a door like it was at my previous place. Sometimes a neighbor comes in, and if it's a neighbor that's around my age, or a couple of years older, a couple of years younger, I typically get I had that as a kid. Oh, that's a new version. This one has more paint and more joints than the one I had as a kid. I actually like seeing that. I actually appreciate that. Yeah, and the other thing I love about the hobby is some of the just busting each other's balls over certain things. Like anytime I do a video, and Ryan knows this, right? Anytime I do a video, especially if I'm by myself on camera, what's the thing I always do? Hands going like this. Welcome everybody, blah, 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 blah. I love these toys. Everything is so good, you know? And this is really great. And that's really great. And he's just kind of like, Ken, if I see you in person, I'm going to tie your hands to your back. And for the video I've got coming up next week, Ryan, you don't know this yet, but it's called Why I Canceled My 7-Year Pre-Order. I tried to do the video, like I said, just for fun. I'm going to try the first recording like this.
7 years?
Yeah, we'll get into that. But it's I canceled a third-party 7-year pre-order from Fans Toys just the other week. And I tried doing the video like this. And I looked at it and just like, toys are pretty cool, eh? My name's Ken and Transformers are all right. And then I said, you know what, Ryan? F you, buddy. Like this. And then I made the video. just tie my hands down next time. You know, like force me to do it.
You know, and it's on me because I'm like, his hands are just distracting me. And I'm trying to pay attention. Ken,
like, what did you say, Ken? I got to rewind 30 seconds. All I did was watch you, you know. Like, at some point, I think I'm just going to do a video. I'm just going to do the Hulk Hogan pose. I'm just going to go while talking. Like, you know, my script will be in the background, and I'll be going, you know, and I'll just be going. So I'll just be doing that at some point in time. So, yeah. Anyway. So part of it too is just the antics and enjoying that aspect of it. But the one thing that I didn't think about asking prior to, and maybe because I saw Tony talk about comics here, but has the actual like canon story, whether it's been a cartoon or a comic or whatever, has that ever like made you love or hate a character? I'm assuming the answer is yes, but maybe talk through it a little bit. You know, like when did you like? You weren't going to buy a character, and then you found out about the story, and you're like, I got to have that figure. I'm just going to open it up. I don't know. If I put someone on the spot, they might not be able to think about it on time.
I'll go first.
Go ahead.
Bazooka.
Okay.
I'm like, when I saw him on the cartoon, I'm like, this guy's an idiot. I don't like him. He's an idiot. He's supposed to be like he's running around in a red shirt, and he's an idiot. He likes fudgies, right? When I went to the store and we would read the cards, because that would be one of the reasons why we would pick the character that we wanted to buy. And we read the file cards, and I'm like reading his file card, and I'm like, I was hesitant because I'm like, this that idiot in the show. And I read his file card, and I'm like, damn, he's badass. I need to get this guy, you know. So that'd be mine.
Right.
I didn't hate him. I don't think there's a figure that I ever hated.
All right. Fair enough. What about Dreadnought or TJC? Actually, I'm just going to unload my bladder. You keep talking.
Go ahead,
Well,
TJC.
we've spoken about it before, like the comics that I used to get, the UK one, Transformers comics as a kid. The characters were represented a lot better in those than they were actually in the animated series.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Shockwave in the comic, he was like a calculating sort of psychopath who was equal to Megatron.
Yeah.
And he was always undermining him and always sort of being slide behind his back. In the cartoon, he was just sort of do as you're told, sort of like little namby-pamby, really, wasn't he? Sort of, yes, whatever you want to do, you know. So that was, and Shockwave was one of the figures you couldn't get in the UK.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you couldn't get him.
Wow. It's messed up.
Shockwave was like my favorite Transformer. He just had that look that was just badass. I mean, I thought he was better looking than Megatron, personally. I thought he should have always been the leader.
I mean, I think that was obviously a reprint of the American comic, but you got the comic cover where he says he's got a picture of Shockwave on there and that the Transformers are all dead. Don't know if you've ever seen that one, but that storyline was brilliant because that was just him, all about him, and it just like come in, sorted everything out. Took over the Decepticons right under Megatron's nose, and Megatron was just injured and hanging on a wall, basically.
But as a kid, I never, I don't know about you two or you three, I never really like like you see the cartoon or you read the comic books. I never used that in my play. Like I had my own little thing going on. We had our own little stuff going on. Like I had my own personal little world going on for whenever I played Joe's by myself. I always had that little world on. When I got to my friends, it was completely different. We played, whatever. We never really used any storylines or anything from the comics or the cartoons or anything in our little world. We did our own.
Maybe not storylines in my case, but just obviously so you had an idea what the character was, and then that
Right,
just obviously form in your mind, wouldn't it?
Yep.
All right.
For me, I always had comics first and then the cartoon. Sunbow was fun, but it was dumbed down for kids. Where Larry writing the comic book, he didn't treat us like children. File cards weren't written, to dumb it down for us.
Yep.
So I always preferred comic over cartoon, and I think that actually made me like most of the characters more than what the cartoon did. I mean, Cobra Commander in the comic was mean and nasty. He was a really bad guy, not a bumbling idiot. And Destro was from Scotland, and he didn't sound like what he did in the cartoon. And the cartoon was great. Don't get me wrong. The Sunbow cartoon was fun. It was perfect for what it was, but the comics were so much better.
Well, you have more freedom in the comics, right? So, yeah, I mean, this. Like, I love the Devil's Due comics because I never got super deep into the Hama run, but that like doubled down my love of G.I. Joe, right? I mean, the one thing, and this is a bit different because this one doesn't involve toys, but I had just left a job back in 2007 that required me to work like 80 hours a week, and I started going back to more regular work hours. And I remember really wanting to collect, read Batman comics more. Like growing up, I read Nightfall. I read what's the name? Lonely Place of Dying, and the one before that, Death in the Family, the death of Jason, the Jason Todd Robin. And I remember just when I switched to my new job and I was working less, one of the things I did is I watched Batman Begins again. And then shortly after that, The Dark Knight, like a year later, Dark Knight comes out. And that's why I always say Bale is my Batman, because watching that influenced me to finally just say, screw it, I'm going to start getting the old Batman comics. Not the single issues, but the trade paperbacks for the story. So like Long Halloween, Dark Knight Returns, Killing Joke, Year One, all of that, Dark Victory, the Scott Snyder run that came a little bit later. Like that's what got me into it. So like, while I always liked Batman, the movies with Christian Bale was kind of like my entry point where I was like, I love this so much. I'm going to go back and I'm just going to start reading the comics and not miss out on some of the key stories from the past. So really, like Batman is like a 2000s era. I mean, yeah, there was the animated series in the 90s where I watched some episodes. Would love to watch the whole thing if I could. Gazz, that's why I was asking you if you'd seen the Justice League cartoon that popped up on Netflix, is because I was actually searching for Batman the Animated, and that popped up in my feed. So yeah.
Good series.
Say what?
I said the JLA is a good series.
Yeah, absolutely.
Personally, on myself, I like the Unlimited, where they delve more deeper into the B and C characters that are part of the Justice League. I like that one a little bit better.
Oh, Justice League Unlimited.
Yes.
Yeah, that one was really good too. Yeah. So, look, that's, you know what? That basically covers the questions that I wanted to talk about today. And we can pretty much just go open forum from here on out until we have to, until Ryan has to jump on to the Toy Kind of Mood wrestling show that's coming up. But yeah, there we go. There you go, man. That's really distracting. Don't talk into a video when that's going on. So, yeah. TJC, did you want to share what you've been up to lately? I know you talked to me a little bit in the chat, but if you've got anything you want to share publicly, or if you're still working on stuff.
Oh, I'm still working on a couple of bits and pieces. Just revisiting old bits, really. Just try to have a little bit of a play with some video software and then just get used to it and see where it goes.
Yeah, I'm glad you're trying it out now, trying the video editing thing and seeing what you can do on your TJC Memories channel. Love to hear more of your thoughts going forward. Like, I know you've just recently been coming and doing live streams with us, but I think I speak for most of us that we like what you bring to the community, your passion and all that, and coming in just like Space Commander, coming in with the European angle on things.
Yeah.
Right, like there's a few of you out there in Europe. Like there's Space Commander, there's Boba Hicks, and then kind of as you get over like outside of the UK and towards the Netherlands, there you get Chris from Chasing 80s, you get Jody from GenXToysGeek. So getting that other side and seeing like because for example, like Jody often tells me Transformers was a very different thing overseas where he was. Like they didn't get, I think he said they didn't get Generation 2. He's gonna correct me if I'm wrong on that, but he said that he didn't get the Generation 2 toys the way we got them over here. So that's another thing when we talk about community over here, just seeing the experiences and what people got, right? Like TJC, for the longest time, I would have never known that your equivalent for G.I. Joe was this thing called Action Force International Heroes, right? And I specifically always say International Heroes because the first few years that Bob Reekin worked on, those first 3 years of Action Force were largely different from G.I. Joe.
The first ones, they were just called Action Force. They weren't International Heroes at all.
That's right.
That came later. So
that came in like 87.
From what Bob has told us when we had the tour of the factory there, the Action Force came out a year before Joe did.
Mm-hmm.
Did it though?
Yes,
did it come out?
Hasbro held on to it for a year to develop the toys.
I thought they both came out in 82. Unless one came out in early 82, one came out in late 82. That may be it.
Action Force did come out before Joe.
Okay. All right. Then.
It was 5 POA.
Yes, I remember that.
We didn't see it here.
We didn't know.
And with Joe coming out in 82 when it did, it was just how it fell for Hasbro. So, and they didn't expect Joe to do as well as it did, but it, did a lot.
And as Bob likes to talk about, before they went into the sci-fi element of Joe, they took 12 of the most popular outfits from Action Man and downscaled them. And as I've gone backwards to kind of like study bits and pieces of Action Man, I'm like, wow, a lot of these outfits were never even in the 12-inch Joe line. Like, I don't think the sports, because Action Man had a lot of sports theme stuff. I never saw that in the 12-inch line. I'm like, wow, that's kind of neat. And just trying to figure out like who came up with the Kung Fu grip, who came up with the flocked hair, who came up with the eagle eyes, and who adopted it later on. That part of history is just amazing. And just seeing what people went through overseas to discover the toys.
Like you say, that the Kung Fu grip was Bob, wasn't it? That was Bob.
That's why he's got the hand, right? I think from what I recall, like that's why they've got the...
Because the eagle eyes came from the States, which obviously they adopted over here.
Yes.
And then the Kung Fu grip was done here, and then the States adopted that. So it went back. That was all. Like I say, Bob could tell you like it was yesterday. When you sit there and you listen to the man, he just can relive it from start to finish. And I guarantee that book that he's now doing, they've got that sort of detail, and that is it'll be a very good read.
Yeah, I'd like to check the status of that book actually, and just maybe we can do that as one of the things that we do as part of this this stream. But you gents talk. I'm going to check the status of the book right now.
And I think too, it's when you look at, I discovered Action Force when I came back into collecting, and just with Bob and team taking some of that Hasbro Joe license, like the APC. Yeah. And the additions that they added to that to make it part of, I think it was Z Force. It's just like this. It's amazing. I'm like, we needed that. And then Tripwire was the Fang helicopter pilot for the SAS. Like,
yeah.
God, he looks so much better doing that.
He was, I think he was called Blades. I think it was his name.
Yeah. So. And then, just the way that how Bob came in and handled a lot of the different designs and how he tied it in, it just made more sense, to me as an adult, and I think would have done the same as a kid.
So it's at about 1/3 of its goal right now, which I know these book Kickstarters are a little more steady. They're not as front loaded as the toy Kickstarters, and there's always going to be a surge near the end. So yeah, and it's going to go over not just Action Man and Action Force, but it'll talk about Star Wars. It'll talk about some of the girls' toy lines and some of the board games that were around during that time. Tiny Tears, Pippa, Parker Games, Mainline Railways. It's all listed here. Brian Hickey has done. I don't know if he owns the publishing company that's involved in this. I know he's tied. I know he's got a lot of publishing experience, and he's the visual artist and the actual photographer for this book. So it's pretty amazing to see all that. His involvement with this. I mean, the book up above me here, that's no, on this side, that's a Brian Hickey book, right? So yeah, love to get his insight on toy history as well, both him and Bob. So yeah, looks like this will be a vertical book, whereas the previous two Action Force books were horizontal landscape style books. So yeah, and much agreed there, Jeremy. I actually, yeah, I love the O-ring characters that got adapted, the tooling that got adapted in order to join the Z-Force, right? I missed out on Gaucho before his price skyrocketed. I did manage to get Jammer and Quarrel, but it's just going to be impossible to get Gaucho these days without paying an arm and a leg for him relative to previous pricing, right? So
maybe that's something I want to bitch about or be unhappy about is how prices on some of the secondary stuff is just absolutely absurd.
Oh God.
I had been on, and we were talking the Robo Skull and the Skeledrones, the assassin drones. And, they brought them back to where you can order them. And, part of it was because on eBay, they're people are selling them for like 40, 50 bucks. And you can buy them for like 20 bucks off the Skeletron website now. And it's just, it's that I get that people pay that, so that's what you pay for. But sometimes that secondary pricing is just absolutely just.
Well, there's my Skeledrones right there, right next to my my G2 Jazz. Right. I mean, I might have to crack those open when the Robo Skull actually comes in. And I have heard some people say they missed out the Robo Skull. I'm like, I bet you anything other than the special edition, they're probably going to throw that up on their website. So. Talk to my buddies. I'm just like, look, unless you're looking for the exclusive stuff, I'm pretty sure you're going to be able to get it because my Robo Skull coming in is going to be the special edition one with the yellow stripes. I joined somebody's all in and said, you pick which one you want, I'll take the other one. So he said, I'll take the regular, you take special edition. And I said, okay. Then I made my own secondary pledge to get some 6-inch and O-ring figures, and of course Brian and Patty's book there. So
yeah, a rabbit hole, Ken.
You could say it's a rabbit hole, but it's an extension of the same Red Shadows Action Force rabbit hole, right?
And TJC, it's going to be a very slow developing rabbit hole. Like it might be like another couple years before they bring out that next item, because I think they just want to get through what they're building now, get it shipped out to everybody, and then they'll open up, for new orders for the original all red Robo Skull, so folks can get that. But yeah, it's going to be a slow developing rabbit hole, hopefully. Yeah. And I would love to, maybe I need to talk to some more of his friends, but I'd love to do like because I have the Sightline figure that they released at JoeCon a few years ago. I'd love to do like a comparison of that with the Sightline figure that's coming out with the Skeletron line. It's not Sightline for Skeletron though.
No, I know, but it's a Gary.
Gary.
It's actually Gary. Wait, did they? No, they called it Geyer Viper.
Yeah, which that was Gary's. Was it named de plume? They say, but that was what he went by in a lot of the message boards.
Right. But it has some of Sightline's color pattern. That gray and the red on it. So yeah, it's not Sightline, but it would be cool to at least compare the two Gary tribute figures. Here's the O-ring Gary, and here's the 6-inch Gary. And I think you managed to talk to Gary a few times just on the online forums. I think you said you never met him in real life, Ryan, but you did make contact with him back in the day.
He was, when I started getting back into Joe, his tank was actually not where it's at today, but he knew all of the pre-production stuff. He had a lot of vast history, and he wasn't a jerk if you'd ask questions. You know, and that was one of the best things about Gary is, you know, he was just such a nice guy. And he would share that knowledge. And, you know, if you talk to folks, I mean, he shared so much stuff and product, and, you know, he was just an amazing person as part of the community, and we lost him way too early. You know, Mark Weber and team over at Hasbro created Sightline for, was it one of the dual packs of the Hiss and the Sky Striker. And then, of course, the O-Ring figure came out and was given away at with Joe Fest, and now Ben and company are doing their kind of tribute to him too. So I think it's just awesome.
Yeah, and the person who did the Sightline figure, Darren Howlett, because he did that through his Red Lasers Army company, right? Him through the Joe Declassified brand did that, and they handed him out for free. They just ate the cost. Darren is actually going to be at Joe Fest. I just talked to him last night. And he's the man behind, or one of the 3 partners behind Legends of the Hidden Force.
Yep.
So he'd be, you know, a great person to talk about Gary. And it's a story that I want to learn more about. Like, you know, you've said so many stories about him. It'd be cool to, like, yeah, just look at the figures and be like, this was one of our people, right? So
go and listen. What's on Joe Mind podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So through Podbeam, I think is where most of their stuff are, but they have some interviews with Gary on there, and you know, just the amount of knowledge that the man had is amazing.
So what I mean, I never met him, I never knew him, but like, he seems to share that mentality of sharing with everybody, share your knowledge, all the like where he comes, like from the pre-production standpoint, the identification, understanding variants, like that seemed to be, from what I understand, his forte, right? And that's just an amazing thing, right? Like I admire that ability to sort of, like, you know, he'd give his shirt off his back type of attitude.
And he kept a lot of people in line. He could keep all the BS out of the community. Like, he would bring a lot of people together. So, you know, we lost him. We lost, you know, those are some pretty big shoes to fill for the community.
Well, nobody's filling them, right?
No.
Nobody at all, right? So especially in the Joe world at this point in time. But yeah, Gazz, TJC, how do you feel about the rising prices conundrum that Ryan just brought up earlier? Secondary market stuff.
Well, to be honest, it doesn't really affect me too much because most of my money is tied up with my boy, really. He just obviously takes everything I have. But yeah, I mean, that everything's going up, isn't it? It's not just one thing, it's everything, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
not much we can do about it, unfortunately.
My wallet complains to me all the time.
Yeah, I used to sit on my wallet and feel taller. Now I sit on my wallet and it feels like it's going to sink into the chair and hit the ground and just go thunk and go, Ken, stop spending on toys because you got to buy groceries at some point this month, buddy. Whoops.
You gotta eat. Can't eat plastic.
Yeah, I can't eat plastic. Galvatron, I want a meal right now. No? Okay. It's not happening.
Well, I mean, I guess, you know, it goes to what we were saying earlier. You get frustrated with yourself and you got to take a step back, which would be a good thing, especially if you're getting frustrated, because that means you're buying things you normally wouldn't buy or don't really want to buy. Reevaluate what you're doing and, you know, take a good look. And there's where your collection, if you want to call it a collection, just call it my stuff, and what direction you're going to take it into.
Yeah.
Right now, for me, like I was telling Ryan backstage, I think I'm probably just going to start sticking to just vintage, you know, O-ring style figures and let everything else pass me by unless I see something that I dig. You know what I mean? But just stay that way, because right now I'm at a level where I have all the stuff that I think I want, and I'm not really seeing anything cool in the shop. Or when I stroll the eBay aisles looking for some vintage stuff and I'm not seeing anything that jumps out at me that I have to get.
And then the vintage stuff you've obviously got a connection with.
Exactly.
Yeah, big time.
For me, yeah, I guess that's really what I think it really is the connection portion of it.
So speaking of connection then, and this is actually a good time to touch on this particular topic, is a lot of us are a lot of collectors are in their 30s. I'd say the majority of us are in our 40s. I won't say the vast majority, but I'll say the majority. And then some of us are in the early part of our 50s. In 20 years' time, is this hobby gonna matter, or is it gonna go the way of is it the Royal Daltons that suddenly plummeted? Is it gonna matter? Because I keep wondering if the bottom's gonna fall out, and all this stuff just ends up in thrift shops and landfills. And here was dumbass paying $600 for something.
I would like to think that for me, that I'll just get as much joy out as I do now than I would then, and hopefully, a nephew, maybe knock on wood, a son of my own, or a daughter, whatever, enjoying it. As long as there's a smile on her face, it really doesn't matter. And what happens to this stuff after I'm gone doesn't matter to me either, because it's just stuff.
Okay.
I think I just had an epiphany.
No, that's good. Good.
I don't collect for value. These are toys.
Yep.
Yeah.
These aren't going to be worth anything. It's all whatever people will pay for it. And I do this for me, and if they all end up being donated to whatever, and that's what happens. But I don't collect for the value. I'm not looking at it as my investment.
Yeah, I'm the same sort of viewpoint. I mean, all the collection I've got is basically got all of my childhood stuff, what I grew up with. So if it came to the point they went to my boy and then he wasn't into them and he sold them and he used it for something else, perfectly fine with that. No issue with me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I look at these like museum pieces. Right. That's just my reverence for the hobby that we have. And I'm not so much concerned about value, more so as value can be an indicator of the popularity and also the amount of people who are willing to still be a community about this stuff. If all of this plummets and is worth nothing, that tells me everybody's moved on, and my ability to just pick up the phone and say, hey, guess what I got today is over. You know what I mean? Like that's more my concern. So while I'm not necessarily glomming over value, I do sometimes wonder how much time we have left in the hobby. I mean, the key thing is, be glad for the years you have, because for all we know, this could be like the Hot Wheels stuff, like the Sweet 16 stuff from the late 60s is still worth something. Silver Age comics is still worth something. And those people are 20 years older than the majority of us, 25 years older. What's making you shake your head, Ryan? Where's my analogy gone wrong?
So, that stuff survived years where people didn't think it was a collecting opportunity, where anything past the 90s, there's more people that have kept mint on card or, collections in better condition than what, we happen to have in, even like the late 70s and early 80s. So those items are rare, and that's what generates value for those now. But like anything that's really modern, there's so much of it out there already that.
Well, I mean, just look at the early '90s comic boom, where they were printing off. What was it? What's that like 3D cover? I forget what they call it. What do they call it? Help me out. You know what I'm talking about, Ryan?
Oh, like the hologram type covers?
Yes. Just all these printing out like 4 or 5 different covers to one issue and then throwing them out there at mass retail. And everybody buying them all up and put them in baggies with boards behind them and then taking the boards out and put them in those hard plastic things to keep them safe. They're going to be worth stuff. And you look at them now and they're worth nothing. Because
do you remember the craze for Superman 75 and the black poly bag, the death of Superman?
Yeah,
that issue.
Exactly.
All the craze for that thing never went more than about $20 to $40.
I got that. I remember getting that, and I opened that crap up because I wanted to read it.
So I wanted
crazy.
That was one of my first exposures to an actual collectible, and I was so excited to get it. And then somebody told me after a few years, that black poly bag is actually going to eat away at the comic. So after a number of years, realizing this doesn't really matter for value, I'm curious about the collectible stuff inside, because there's more than just the comic inside. There's additional paperwork, and lo and behold, the black poly bag did kind of wear the comic a little bit. So here you think there's this mint thing inside, right?
Yeah.
And it's not.
You also have to remember at the time of all these comics coming out like this, and these printings of like issue 1, you know, Spider-Man, what was it, $2.99, the McFarlane cover, on 300, and they did it for 300 too. Everybody was buying these up, and the one thing they were saying, you see the value of Superman #1 or Action Comics #1, and the first appearance of Batman. Now these are selling. These are going to do the same thing because these are our heroes now, and we forget that, you know, when kids bought those back in the day for like a dime or a nickel, you know, they rolled that shit up and they put it in their back pocket. They ripped out the ads in them and sent them out. So finding a great conditioned one is very rare, which is why it costs a lot of money. I'm trying not to let my New England, my Bostonian come out by swearing so much. But anyway, so all these other comics, you know, they put them out. Like, you had all these versions of one comic, and everybody buying them to keep them in value. Didn't happen, and I think that's what's happening now with all these action figures coming out. Is like, are they going to be worth stuff? I mean, yeah, they're purposely not putting out enough volume of them. You get your wave of. I mean, I'm gonna use classified as an example. I'm not crapping on it in any form or fashion, but you get a wave and then that's it. The wave is done. You know, back when we were kids, that wave came out. It was like a year and still going. After the wave was done, they were still putting them out. Even when the next wave came out, you're still available. They get a couple of figures and then they stopped printing them. This, it's like, if you miss that wave, it's gone. It's done. And are they going to redo them? Are they going to put them out again? Who knows? I don't know. Probably not, right?
Oh no, they always do. They always put out more of the same.
It gives you that sense of, like, which is probably one of the things that I'm really frustrated about. Not just, like I said, I'm just using that as an example. I'm just using an example. I mean, it's the same thing with Motu and anything else. It's like, you see the stuff and you want to get it, and you know that if I don't pick this up now, chances of me finding it in the shop might be rare, and I might not be able to get it. So you're going to jump on it, and then that's what's kind of getting me frustrated, because I don't want to jump on it. I want to kind of like come across it. You know, maybe I come across it on BBTS, maybe I come across it on Amazon, and there it is, and I can buy it. You know, but if I miss out on Duke Wave 1, you know, I'm not going to be able to get Duke Wave 1 again unless I get in the aftermarket.
Yeah, which again brings us back to the whole rising prices on the aftermarket thing.
Yeah. And
right?
then that's another thing, yeah. But I mean, you got to take that with what's going on around the world. So it's like, it's all going to go up because that's just the way economics works. So,
but the biggest difference is too, is at least in the States, we have less retailers than we ever had.
Yeah, that too.
And that's why you had so many G.I. Joes. It was in the millions they would make of each of those figures, because you know, you didn't have as much competition for kids' attention. And so the G.I. Joes, you know, Star Wars would come out with a movie and you'd get a little run off that. But G.I. Joe had the cartoon that was going on the whole time. Yeah. You had Transformers. So, you know, the way that retail worked even back then, they would keep back stock. And now retail works like, we look at a 12-week sales cycle and we're going to only order enough product to fill that 12-week sales cycle. And if we saw it early, that's great, because we're not going to keep restocking it so that we're not stuck with overstock and clearance.
Yeah. And it's the same thing. Yeah, when it goes on clearance, it's because they need to move it out. It's not because it's not selling, is they just need to move it out. So we're going to put it on clearance because we actually own it. It's not Hasbro's or it's not Mattel's. It's ours. We bought it. We're going to try to move this product out. And then everybody's like, oh, look, this line sucks because it's on clearance. It's like, well, not really, because they're just trying to move their stock out.
Clear up, because they only have so much space in the retail aisle.
Exactly.
Right.
And then they don't order as much the next round. So then that next wave becomes harder to come by.
Exactly.
And it's the cycle of how everything goes right now.
Damn you, Toys R Us. Damn you, Child. What if we're going out of business?
Goodness, yeah. And you know what, though? Like, as I'm talking through this, like TJC, you might remember the Transformers alternators in the early part of the 2000s. That was kind of like all the rage for modern Transformers, right? Because that was like modern style toys, modern style like G1-esque looking stuff, but like transforming into fancy cars. Once Transformers went back to their roots with the G1 looking masterpiece stuff, everybody forgot about the alternators. Now all the alternators are cheaper to get.
Yeah.
Right. And the same thing I think happens with different toy lines. Like if a new modern line overtakes the old modern line, but it fills the same gap. I'm not talking about like classified versus the 25th anniversary. Those are still different scales. But I'm talking about like within Transformers, they keep refreshing the modern line. So then the previous line starts being easier and easier to get because you start saying, oh, I don't really want this anymore because a better one came out. So yeah. And Travis, we'll let Ryan peace out, and you can go ahead and get started. Everybody, so Ryan, actually, any parting words?
You guys are awesome. I love you all. Don't let the anger get to you. Toys are fun. Remember that. Enjoy the hobby by enjoying your friends, and just you guys all have a great night. TJC, love seeing you, brother. I hope you get some sleep sometime. Gazz, it's always a pleasure.
That's what you guys are for.
You're my bro. Love you. So to everybody in the chat, thank you all for joining us. And if you want, we're going to have a battle royal. It's wrestling. We're not kayfabing about it. We're going to be dropping some elbows, some leg drops, some body slams. Come and join us at a Toy Kind of Mood.
Get rowdy in there.
They're starting in 10 minutes. We'll be done by then. So don't worry about the peace, Ryan. Sorry. Don't worry about the fan base and everything like that. We're done relatively soon. Like most TKOs run about 90 minutes, give or take. Unless Ken runs out of things to talk about, then those run for probably 89 minutes, give or take. And if Ken blabbers for a while, then maybe it goes for 2 hours. So that's don't worry about that. Don't worry about the whole Ryan thing. I knew where you were headed. So everybody, if you want to talk some wrestling, head over to a Toy Kind of Mood at the top of the hour. We'll be done.
I did post the link to the.
He did, yeah. Gazz did post the link, and I would hop over there, but I'll probably be on the road taking my boy to go see his grandparents tonight. It is Saturday. Normally, as you know, I do the TKOs tomorrow morning. I just thought that, I didn't do one last week. Let's try a different time slot this week and see how it is, see how we all feel.
Yep. Family time is important, Ken.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Well, took my boy for a play date earlier. That's why I had to go. Well, I go for a bathroom break all the time anyway. But when I was at the play date, one of the parents hands me a coffee and a lemonade. And I'm like, all right, my bladder already can't control itself. But you know what? I guess I'm definitely going in the middle of the podcast. So, yeah. But gentlemen, what you got coming up over the next little while that you want to talk, that you want either people to see or anything you're excited for in the toy space or, yeah.
For me, because I don't have a channel, so whatever you guys got coming up, I'm always excited for.
Okay.
You guys do great stuff. TJ, I'm excited to see more from you. More from you. I want to see some expert snipering and posing as a bush.
Well,
yeah, you two play video games.
If you ask Chad, he'll tell you I just get shot a lot. So we could do that.
You played with me. I get
talked
shot a lot.
earlier about 101 ways to get shot by me in 2 minutes.
Yeah, okay. It's awesome though. It's awesome running with you guys. But looking forward to, I don't know, man, just getting through another week. Looking forward to getting to Joe Fest and hanging with you legends. Can't wait to see that. I wish Ryan and TJ and Space Commander could also be
Phil
there. So great.
Yeah.
Be okay. But you know what though? This is the best part. There'll be another event where we will all be together and hang, have a beer, or if we don't drink, club soda maybe. I don't know. And enjoy the time.
No matter what the drink is, it's the company, isn't it?
Exactly. Exactly. We'll bring some Joes and some Action Force dudes and some Transformers.
All right.
And just play.
I'm getting excited for the ramp up to Joe Fest as well. Like I'll be flying up from Vancouver to Calgary, then taking the flight to Atlanta, and then Steve's gonna drive to Augusta because I told him I'm not driving in a foreign country, bud. And he's like, Ken, I'll show you the way. It's not that hard.
It's like Canada, in a way.
I know. And it's just gonna be a little bit warmer down there, right?
So I'm taking a flight from Boston, from Providence to Atlanta, and then I'm taking a puddle jumper from there to Augusta.
So I forgot, am I going to see you on the 9th or the 8th of June?
I'll be there on the 9th.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, we'll figure it out. Are you staying at the Marriott or no?
Yeah, I have a room at the Marriott.
Okay, so we're going to be relatively close geographically, right? So we can hang till the wee hours of the morning. Steve tells me don't save some energy for when you're at the booth, Ken. And I'm just like, I don't get to see these people that often. He's like, yes, Ken, but save some energy for, try to keep your brain together for the actual show. I'm like, all right, fine.
You're going to have a blast, Ken.
God. It's going to be good to just let loose and see everybody, right?
Yeah.
And Jeremy, stop trying to get yourself banned in the chat.
Bret Hart, yawn.
Yeah, I mean, Anthony Romo, you were walking a fine line on this one. But anyway, before we go, I just want to say a quick hello to Joe Ricondo, and I do want somebody just for the last couple minutes of the show, to kick the door down, make a lot of noise, and lead us off of the show. So if it's okay with everybody, we're gonna do this for a second.
There he is.
I'm super late.
So man.
Take us home, buddy. 3 minutes left. Go soapbox. What do you want to say?
All right.
Words of wisdom.
What were we talking about?
Wisdom of
Right.
Hans Chow.
I suppose the whole topic tonight was love and hate, and I missed the majority of it. But just remember, all relationships, all good relationships, border on that line between love and hate, and it's a tightrope walk. And just remember, it takes a brave man to walk the tightrope, but it takes a wise man to navigate it successfully. So make sure that you are wise and brave as you walk that tightrope of all the love-hate relationships in your life, and always understand that love, despite being more difficult to give, is still more powerful than hate.
Beautiful.
Oh, shoot.
There we go.
Yeah, and
Beautiful.
And Q. Cameraman Mrs. Q. Sorry about that. Cameraman meet StreamYard meet Hans. So thanks for taking us home, buddy.
That was good.
That was the grand finale right there. So yes,
I got to ask Hans. Were you late because you were playing games?
No.
Come on, tell the truth. Come on.
I wish it was games, but I was with my family and they refused to let me go and do man things. I had to do family.
Family's important, Hans.
Family's first.
Family's important.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you need a break. Sometimes you need to go and take a walk down the road, And I needed that a little bit today. But you know what? You got sometimes you have to dig into the pile, and then you dig down into the bucket of love, and you realize at the bottom of the bucket there's nothing there. So you drill a hole underneath it, and you reach a little bit deeper, and you pull more out because that's just how it is. So I had to give more.
While you're here, Hans, can you answer how the articulated thing? Give him a detailed description.
Oh, I didn't know this would be an exam, dude.
On the spot.
You missed the definition of love and hate, and how we all need to basically monitor ourselves above our hobbies, but also regulate the fact that our hobbies bring us great joy, and the value of joy can never really be understated and underplayed. So
that's a great summary for this. You know what? I probably should have started this.
Hans, there you go.
Mic drop Hans. I probably should have started this stream a bit later. Hans came in late. Joe Ricondo came in late. Highly Articulated came in late. K-Dog Broadcasting sends his best, his regards. But whatever, it's all good. Hey, everyone, thanks for joining in. If you want to hop over to either Toy Kind of Mood or Ozstradamus Toyz Live, if you happen to not be a wrestling fan, they're both jumping in at the top of the hour. They probably already started. So I'm going to stop hogging airspace, and would have if my brother from another mother here hadn't jumped in. But I did not want to miss his soapbox, the opportunity to listen to him soapbox. So everybody, wave goodbye. Gazz, keep grinning that Calvin grin.
I'm
And,
giving thumb kisses to everybody.
Thumb kisses to everybody. All right. Thank you. We'll see you next time. Have a good one.
Bye, y'all.
Stay safe and take care.